Welcome to this edition of Avitar Face to Face. My name is Jewel Kinch-Thomas, and we're so glad you joined us today. Today, we are going to take this program to reflect and salute the creator and host of this program, Dillard Boone. Last week, with deep sadness, we announced that Dillard passed from complications after bypass surgery. We are going to spend some time with our guest today to talk a little bit about Dillard's impact in the communities he worked in and his work in the arts and culture arena. Dillard was an extraordinary human being. I had the I went to the memorial and the celebration and the funeral service, both of which were overflowing with people. Standing room only in each one of the churches, and that was a testament to the person that Dillard was and the contributions that he made to the people around him and the communities in which he lived and worked. Dillard was a life of service. He started with social services early in his career, where he was the deputy director of the labor relations of human resources in New York. And he went on to be the assistant commissioner with the Agency for Child Development, and then moved to city government, where he was the district manager of Community Board number 10, serving upwards of 150,000 people in New York. Dillard finally got to his passion and his calling when he moved into the arts. Arts and culture was something that he felt brought people together, strengthened community, and was a powerful way of connecting people. So we want to speak to our guest today so that we can hear about how he brought to them and their work such a magnificent presence. And today we have with us Mr. Vosa Rivers, who is the first vice chair of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. He's also the chairman of the chairman of Harlem Arts Alliance and the president of New Heritage Theater. Welcome, Vosa.
Thank you, Jewel. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me just say how special Dillard was, and then how I feel about being a part of this program. I've known Dillard for over 30 years,
Mm.
and I met him in Harlem, and for many years we worked side by side at Kwanzaa Fest.
Okay.
Kwanzaa Fest started out as a locally celebrated event every December, and it was small and it grew. And eventually, we had to go to the Javits Center
Mm.
because we were servicing tens of thousands of people. And Dillard was one of those producers.
Wow.
I was a consultant producer, but Dillard was considered a line producer.
Mm.
And we worked very, very closely together. 38 years ago, we created something called Harlem Week.
Mm-hmm.
Dillard, in addition to working with Kwanzaa Fest, came on board in about our 30th year
Wow.
I'm sorry, after the organization is 38 years old now, but after about 7 or 8 years, Dillard came on board, and Dillard worked very, very closely with me as executive producer. Each year, we were producing more than 100 events. And if you can imagine, Dillard was my guy. I never had to worry about my technical stuff, my staffing.
Right.
Dillard was there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Dillard was there with the crew. The event was over at 11 o'clock. Dillard was there with them. And we just created this close bond. And then let me just segue into Avitar and the work that he was doing there. The Harlem Arts Alliance, Jewel, as you remember, started out about 11 years ago with 12 members.
Right.
As an art service organization. Today we have over 1,000 members. I remember that Dillard was one of our active members, and he said that he wanted to start something in his own community, very similar to what we were doing in Harlem. And so he questioned me, routinely about the process, the challenges,
Right.
and the commitment and what it took to sustain an organization. And I had an opportunity to come up here with Dillard and meet a lot of his colleagues and to see Avitar launched in such a grand way with the help of some of the other guests. It was just very, very commendable on Dillard's vision of making that happen.
Right. Thank you so much. We should mention that Avitar is the foundation that Dillard created, and it was a foundation he created to educate, to inform, to really create a multicultural base where people would be able to find out more about each other through the arts and really inform community. Now, I'd like to introduce my other guests for today who are going to speak about their work with Dillard. Janet Lansom is the CEO of Arts Westchester, and Yana Edwards is councilman from the city of Mount Vernon. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Janet, Dillard's work was in Harlem quite a lot. His home base was in Mount Vernon, but he found himself up here in White Plains. What was the initial connection?
Well, Dillard, as all of you know, was a force of nature.
Yes.
So he probably couldn't just stay in one place. Admirably, he wanted to serve the whole county of Westchester, starting with Mount Vernon, where he was very active. And Juana knows this about the Summer Breeze concerts
Right.
on the steps of City Hall. But he broadened that vision of his to become involved with the Juneteenth celebration,
Right.
which Arts Westchester participated in, and that was here in White Plains. And more than that, saw Avitar as sponsoring exhibitions and performances in Westchester. He did a wonderful collaboration, and I'm trying to remember Antoinette's last name, but maybe somebody will fill that in for me.
Antoinette Pitcairn?
Yes.
Yes.
He did a celebration called Carib Gold
Right.
at Arts Westchester, which was just phenomenal in bringing together artists from who had some contact and culture of the islands. And it was a wonderful exhibit with performances and, of course, introduced to Westchester artists that perhaps, were undiscovered before.
Right.
So he was an entrepreneur
Yes.
and left no stone unturned.
He had a dedication and a commitment about him that was, as you say, admirable. He had a drive to bring people together and see how they could relate to each other. And it was wonderful to see him in action. He had it was a quiet presence, but a very strong and commanding presence, I felt. But working with him, it was such a wonderful spirit. As Vosa said, he got everything done. There was no stone left unturned because Dillard understood what needed to be put in place. And I think, Yana, you can speak to that as a councilman from Mount Vernon, where he lived and again built community.
Yes, yes. Dillard was an organized person. Dillard and I met. I was a commissioner of recreation for over 10 years.
Okay.
So Dillard really got his start in Westchester under, we did it together.
Right.
Because in the front of City Hall, it was redone under Mayor Davis. And so we had done the first concert in the front of City Hall, where it's a beautiful, beautiful space. And Dillard and I worked. We would sit down for hours. And you just put up an idea, and Dillard would make it happen.
Okay.
When he brought Wynton Marsalis to Mount Vernon, I still don't know today how Dillard was able to get that off, because the budget in the recreation department, as you know, is very, very small.
Yes.
But Dillard was able to work by getting sponsors and doing things. And like was said earlier, Dillard was able to bring people together. Dillard and I had the same kind of spirit, and he would take me to Harlem, I take him up to Westchester, where he would connect with Greenberg, and we try to get the recreations departments in the area to kind of combine and collaborate our efforts. Because if we were able to bring in Wynton Marsalis into town, that means he was probably there for that day. So we would be able to utilize whatever small budgets we had. He'll hit Mount Vernon, then he'll hit White Plains, he'll hit whatever. But that's what Dillard was able to do, and he had that massive voice presence that you knew he was in the area.
Right.
So we considered him the voice of Mount Vernon.
Oh, he was considered the voice of Mount Vernon, of New Rochelle, of Harlem. I mean, that was one of the things, I think, a common thread throughout what folks were saying as they, testified about him, was that this suave, kind of debonair presence and the voice that would just captivate and hold people. And you had him on many an occasion as your MC for all of these projects.
Yeah, there's an annual award show that the Harlem, the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce produced. It was a National Black Sports and Entertainment Hall of Fame, where each year we would induct 25 individuals into the Hall of Fame, and we wanted to make those shows run smoothly. So it was Dillard whose voice got everything moving. You would hear Dillard introduce people, but we didn't have to have an on-stage personality, because Dillard was so effective that when people heard his voice, they understood that things were happening, things were moving, and it was good. And then as a filmmaker, I had the pleasure of also using Dillard to do a lot of the voiceovers.
Okay.
And again, it was just a pleasure.
Well, we also should note that he was the host of his own radio show on WVOX.
Yes, yes.
So again, he was using that instrument to inform and educate and connect with people. What do you think was the driving force behind all this work that Dillard wanted to do and did in through the arts in order to connect people? What was it?
I think, in addition to a booming voice and a presence, Dillard had a big heart and an embracive heart, caring about people, wanting to bring cultures together, and in a real way, by understanding each other's cultures. And I think that was his dream, and he went about that dream in many different ways in Westchester and in Harlem and in Mount Vernon. And we also used his voice as a narrator, because it was very engaging. But he had a dream. He had a plan.
He did.
And he left us too soon.
He absolutely did.
And Dillard was very spiritual.
Yes.
He was very, very spiritual. And it was funny to people, but he was a Catholic. He was raised in Rhode Island as a Catholic.
Right.
I was raised also as a Catholic as a child. And you get some of that spirituality and humbleness from Catholicism. Then I went to Islam and I went to everything else.
Right.
But when he had the service at the church, and I had said that it was really appropriate for Dillard, because he was in all the worlds. He loved humanity, and this is the way he carried himself, and it showed in everything that he did.
It absolutely did. He was someone I kept hearing from people. Dillard was the one who gave me an opportunity to do this. He presented me in this program. He called me up and said, you have to be a part of whatever it is I'm doing. So it just seemed to me that people not only respected him for his skills and the work and the talent that he did, but they appreciated that he would recognize them for whatever creative talents they had, and would want to embrace them and include them in whatever work he could to lift them up. I kept getting that a lot, that he wanted to lift up other people as much as he could in order for them to shine. Was that your experience?
Janet said something too about Dillard. Dillard, yes, spiritual, but it's also part of his DNA. There was something inside him
Yes.
that was really there that showed a certain kind of commitment. Dillard would work with emerging artists the same way he would with established artists.
Okay. And he worked with many an established
And,
artists.
and in this field, we don't always have the financial resources to make things happen.
Right.
But we do leverage our contacts, our other types of non-monetary resources to make things happen. And Dillard was a master of that also. So it wasn't always about how much am I being paid.
Yes.
It was a combination of looking at the entire opportunity, what Dillard was putting on the table, and we were able to do that across the board, from Harlem to Westchester to Mount Vernon, providing opportunity.
I would say he was a collaborator.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think he enjoyed involving, many people in his projects.
Right.
And in addition to being a collaborator, of course, he was a people person.
Absolutely.
So that he had that ability to draw people into whatever he was doing. He'd come to my office and he'd say, I have an idea.
I've heard
And
that
from-
so often.
And
the
from
last
I have
week.
an idea would become
Yeah.
mushroom
That's right.
into
That's right. It
something.
was.
The other word that I guess I would attribute to Dillard was indefatigable. He really was tireless. If he believed in something, he was just he would pursue it
Yes.
in a very tireless manner, and that was a virtue.
Absolutely. He would remark to me that he was going to do even more than what he had already accomplished, because he wanted to go to all the different cities and villages and towns of Westchester, and he wanted to figure out a way to bring them all together so that people weren't isolated, in their own cultural niche, but they would be communing. And he was going to figure out, I'm going to the mayor's office, I'm going to this
right.
one's,
That's right.
and he would make a way, just as you
Yes.
said. And it's wonderful when you have a person that has the love and the care and the skill and the dedication to community building that Dillard had. And it just, that's why it speaks. We have to recognize that and embrace it, and say, it was truly an honor to have him in our midst.
A brother who transitioned too early,
Yes.
because he still had a lot that he wanted to complete, and but while he was with us, it was a great journey,
Yes. It
and
was.
we can always remember his spirit, because that spirit lives on.
Right. Exactly.
He also did the Grant's Tomb Fair once a year, and I just love Dillard, because Dillard, you come up, come on back. I had a connection with Dillard. He bring me straight to backstage and introduced me to all these great people, and he knew everyone, and everyone knew Dillard,
Yeah.
and it showed at the going home service that he had,
Yes.
that everyone loved him and everyone came out, because like you said earlier, it was standing room only,
Right.
and it was beautiful.
Right. In the short time that we have left, is there one quality or one thing that you would want people to know and or recognize about Dillard, the viewers who may not have known him as you have, because you've worked with him and been engaged with him for so many years, but what should they know about this man that served so many, has left us too quickly, but leaves a legacy?
I don't think it's one thing.
Okay.
I think it's a combination of things. It's the energy, it's the passion, it's the commitment, it's the caring. It's all part of a package that was Dillard's package, and you can't take one thing away from another. It was a powerful combination,
Yes.
and that's how he got things done. He believed in it, he made it happen.
Okay.
I think his lover of people, I think that transcended everything, and it made it just made what Dillard did even better. His love of people. And I think because Dillard wanted to make Mount Vernon the cultural capital of the world. We're still going to work on doing that.
Okay.
But in order to be able to do that, you have to love people and be able to collaborate and bring people together. And that's what Dillard was able to do well.
Dillard had an undying commitment to the arts and the impact of what arts could do. Arts, there are no limitations or boundaries in terms of communicating with people.
Right.
And he used that skill and that commitment to the arts to bring people together.
Yes. Beautifully said. And I think the Chamber is going to be recognizing Dillard this summer.
Yes, we will. There are two things that the Chamber will be doing. Each year we have scholarships that we present, and we will create a Dillard Boone scholarship this year to a deserving young person in his name. And as I look at the 100, this last year we did 111 events. One of those events will be dedicated to Dillard, where we will again have what he likes to look over, and while he's looking down on us now, is to make sure that we have a very tight, musically sophisticated, professionally produced a jazz concert, and we're going to do that in his name.
Fantastic. Please let us know when that's going to happen, because I know I want to be there and be part of that. I want to thank each of our guests today for joining us. Vosa Rivers, Janet Lansom, and Yana Edwards. Thank you so much for sharing, your thoughts, your sentiments, and your comments about Dillard Boone. He was a very special person.
Thank you for inviting me.
We are going to share with you a clip right now. Dillard Boone was many things to many people: producer, cultural advocate, activist, city and civic leader. So many that we couldn't cover it all in this short period of time. But hopefully this clip that you will see, which is a compilation of some of his interviews from Avitar Face to Face, will help you understand a little bit more about how important this person was for us. On his site, it says Avitar is divine inspiration. We know that that's what Dillard brought to many, many people. Dillard Boone, may you rest in peace.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to another version and episode of Avitar Face to Face. My name is Dillard Boone, and I am your host for today, as always, and I'm the chairman of the Avitar Foundation of Westchester. And as usual, we come to you with a serious message of integration and collaborations. And it's an interesting thing that society has a prefixed idea about who people from the diaspora are.
Yeah.
And they have that kind of fixed impression due to the television and the movies and stuff of that nature, and really miss the essence of who people are coming from different cultures. And we find that particularly in this country, but it exists worldwide, the opinions, and it's a preconceived opinion about who people are or who people are like, without really necessarily knowing them. And we feel very comfortable in this in terms of, to understand someone, you must understand their culture. You must understand their rites and their rituals and their traditions to get a sense of a full look and feel of who people are. So, it's breaking down some of those barriers, and I think we can do this, or try to effectuate this, through our display of art and culture. When you want to know someone, you have to understand their culture.
Yeah.
And to understand their culture, you have to realize the essence of that culture, Because we've been featuring different components and elements of the Caribbean traditions and the cultures. And obviously, in order to understand the culture, you must understand some of the foods.
Absolutely.
Anything we're going to taste on here as we go
yes,
forward?
Absolutely.
Because you can't be in this business without that passion. It doesn't give you the kind of reward that is standardized and other things, You really have to be about people. and you have to be about giving. And then things come to you in such a very unique way that it just kind of feeds what it is that you do. So we're looking at how to best utilize all of this talent, because we're all learning. You see, we all learn from each other, and I think it's very wise for people to be in the company of people who know as much and more than they do, because it gives you some motivation to begin to perfect your skills and to make another kind of level of commitment to learn your craft, if you will, so to speak. So it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. If you listen to the message Charles is giving in that statement, or those statements, is that this is about your culture. This is about our culture. And if we really don't support our culture in various ways as volunteers and as people who are contributing, making donations and certain stuff like that, for things like that, then when it doesn't happen, then there's really no complaint. Because no one else is responsible for ensuring that our culture is preserved and presented and displayed in a proper and dignified way than we ourselves who are members of that culture. So, take heed in terms of our appeal to you to begin to spread the word. You don't have to be from White Plains to attend it. So we're asking people in the broader communities and the outside communities to feel free to come and experience not only a cultural experience, but to come in and enjoy some of the benefits that a city like White Plains offers. And I think it's extremely important to do that, preserve your culture, and be a part of Juneteenth. At this time, we're kind of drawing to a conclusion of our show, the Avitar Face to Face, and we, as always, we want to begin to leave you with the message about our dream. The dream is in the mind of the believer and in the hands of the doer. And you're not given that dream without being given the power to make it happen. This is a perfect example from our guest today, who had a dream, developed a passion for it, and just went for it. And so until next week, we want to thank you. God bless, and we'll see you later. Peace.